Thank you, Chair. So my question is about the relationship with the London Assembly. You are responsible for managing the Mayor's Office relationship with the London Assembly. So what does a good relationship with the London Assembly look like to you?
That's a very good question. And I would start by setting out there are a few different ways in which the Mayor's Office and the GLA, of course, engage with the London Assembly. So it's important to distinguish between, of course, the formal consultation that absolutely must happen on big GLA decisions. And that is handled quite rightly by the Mayor's Chief of Staff and the GLA Chief Officer. So questions on how the Assembly and the GLA operate are best properly handled through that process. But what me and my team can do is that we help ensure that the Mayor is fully briefed so that you are able to scrutinise him properly. We do that through making sure that he has a full briefing for Mayor's Question Time and other similar public meetings. We also make sure that your Mayor's questions are answered. And we also have a role in ensuring that any commitments that the Mayor makes at those meetings, so at Mayor's Question Time, for example, are followed through by GLA officers. But I suppose added to that, and I suppose this is the bit where we can really do some more work, is that we do offer informal support as well. So outside of those key processes, if members want some additional information, if you have ideas or thoughts that you would like to share about how to deliver for Londoners, then I'm very happy, and myself and my senior advisor for briefing and Assembly liaison are very happy to pick that up with you.
Thank you. Now, Assemblymember Hall just said earlier that she didn't know who you were. It sounds great, the idea of sharing informal support with and sharing information and ideas about how to deliver for Londoners. But have you reached out to the political groups to make that offer of that kind of informal communication? I'm not entirely aware of it having happened with our group, but yes, could you just expand on that a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, there is more to do. I completely agree with that. It's something I'm very keen to do is to improve our relationship with the Assembly. And we have worked on that since the start of term 2, so from May. Myself, the Mayor's Chief of Staff, Deputy Chief of Staff and the Senior Advisor for Briefing did meet with the Green Assembly Group and the Lib Dem Assembly Group. I think it was during the summer. I can get you an exact month. I think it might have been June. And I'm very happy to do that again. If Assembly members are open to it, I'm happy to make that a regular meeting. I found it really useful. I hope you did too. We have asked for a meeting with the Conservative group, but I think it's sadly been delayed quite a few times. But if it isn't already in the diary, I do believe we have a new date, but if it isn't, I will follow up on that straight after this meeting. And I would point to a good example coming out of this actually was with the Green Assembly group. When we met with you, Assemblymember Polanski asked if the Mayor would like to support a bid for the International Gay and Lesbian Aquatics Championships to come to London. The Mayor, on the advice of Assemblymember Polanski, was very happy to write and support the bid. He did that, and we have found out that the bid was successful. So I immediately communicated that back to Assemblymember Polanski, and I've committed to working with him through the delivery of that to keep him updated and to make sure that he is involved. So that's just one example of where that relationship can work. That I hope shows our intent for term 2. It's something I absolutely want to build on. But on top of that, I know that Tom Layfield, the Senior Advisor for Briefing, is regularly in touch with your teams and your heads of offices to try and find ways that we can work together better, but also to provide additional information as you might need it in terms of your Assembly appearances. I guess I know we're short of time, so it's obviously not one for this committee to discuss at the moment, but I am very open to further suggestions of how we improve that relationship, and I can pick that up with any of you outside of this meeting if helpful.
I'm sure every group would be glad to keep those relationships going, and I'm sorry I hadn't understood that meeting with Assemblymember Polanski was counted as part of your team. So that possibly explains a kind of perhaps that we on the Assembly side may not be entirely familiar with how your team operates and you know, and the connection. So I think the sort of the need for, you know, more liaison between us is probably really important and clear. And I've just got one extra question, which is there anything you can point to that you've done specifically to support better working relationships with the London Assembly?
Thank you. Yes, I suppose I would point to my efforts to set up those meetings. I am sorry we've only had one so far with the Green Group and the Lib Dem Group. I will go away after this meeting and make sure we get another one set up ASAP. I will also make an effort to reach out to you all personally as well after this meeting, so you have my email address, which is obviously on the GLA system, but I'll make sure that I initiate that contact, and in my email I will also put my phone number, so if any of you want to give me a ring, please do. I can also share the details of my senior advisor for briefing, who, if you can't get me, will be happy to pick up anything that's helpful.
Thank you very much. I'll hand back to the chair.